Hey everyone, and welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we focus on finding value in the markets when there's fear and to be cautious when there's greed. Today, we are going to be taking a look at the Magnificent Seven stocks with one bonus, which is going to be AMD. We have had big earnings these last couple weeks. Today, in earnings, we had Apple, Amazon, Meta, three of the Magnificent Seven. On Tuesday, we had Microsoft, Google, and AMD. And the week before, I believe it was Thursday that we had Tesla. Maybe it was Wednesday. Let's check it out. Wednesday? Yes, Wednesday we had Tesla. The only other one outside of those is NVDA as far as fear and greed. Right now, we are on the edge of extreme greed because we're at 75%. 75 or higher extreme greed. That's according to pieinvesting.com. To CNN, we are in the greed phase, and we've been up in greed for some time. So, is it the best time to buy? Not overall. There is some areas to find value. We're going to take a look at Tesla to see if there's any good long-term value there. But let's get into it. So, Magnificent Seven stock. Well, before we look at all those, let's just take a look at the S&P 500 on the weekly with this 1020 MA crossover indicator and the RSI. As you can see, we're in overbought territory, and RSI, relative strength index, all because something isn't as overbought does not mean it can't go higher in price. The same with when we are oversold. We can be less oversold and go lower. So here you can see we were up to 80 and overbought. Right now we're only 76, and yet we are at an all-time high. The most recent indicator we got on the weekly is a buy signal, and we've been playing this out for some time. So if we measure that, let's get that exact. If we measure that over to where we are at, yeah, we've been going for, about 3 months and are up 16.5% since that buy signal. So that's what's been going on there. As far as the volatility of all the stocks, you can see the VIX is slowly starting to curl up, but macro-wise, it's still pretty low. It's still at the levels really not seen since before the COVID crash. Some have wondered if we are going to get a VIX spike, and yes, these can happen out of nowhere. What does it look like when we have spiked before? And I'm talking about over 30. Here you can see there was more of a telltale sign for it. Let's go back. Yeah, it's been a while since we've had a big spike. Okay, this was post-Great Financial Crisis. As you can see, the GFC, the VIX got up to 80, and then we went down, and then boom. So here in 2010 and 2011, the spikes they happened to go up real big. And then I would figure, yeah, the dot-com bubble also had some spikes and hung up there for a bit. So that's what we got on the VIX. As far as the yield curve, the 30-year, 2-year is inverted. We'll look at that here in a minute. The US 10-year, 2-year, it's still uninverted. Historically, on average, it's about 6 to 12 months from the inversion till a recession. Things have changed since the 2000 dot-com bubble. So, yes, we can go by historical data and average it out. But to be frank, the markets are different today than they were in the 90s, 80s, 70s, and even before then. So, I don't think those rules still apply. I would look more at when we've had recessions before the Great Financial Crisis. You can see we inverted here January of 06. .com. It was February of 2000. So February, January 2006. Where was the S&P at? So February of 2000, where were we? We were right over here. We had a bit of time. Let's see from right here. I know this ain't going to be exact, but February, we had about 2 years. Yeah, roughly 2 years until we had the bottom of the market. The recession, yes, it was before then, but overall, actually longer than that. Sorry, this is my brain working right now. So 3 years. It was about 3 years 2.5, 3 years until that time. Let's look at, what was the other one? January of 06. We're going to measure from there. January of 06. Let's get that as close as we can. January of 06. So right here to the bottom. From the moment we were inverted, we had about 3 years yet again to the very bottom and went down 45% from there. You can see we still moved up around 25% higher from the inversion. I'm curious about this now. Let's take a look at this together. Was that February of 2000? February 2000. How much higher did we move? 13%. The other one was 25%. And then overall from February 2000, we moved 40%. So, from the inversions, overall, we did get down 40%. Let's go back to this. We inverted July of 22, roughly speaking. I know it might not be perfect and exact. Where was July of 22? Back here. So some people have said, maybe the bottom has been somewhat priced in. We've only gone down 8% lower, but from July of 22, look, we've gone up like almost 30%. So this is more in line with what happened in the great financial crisis. Now, in the GFC, yeah, we went up 25%, but you can see from the inversion, we still went down 40. If we went down 40% from the inversion, what's curious about this? Take a look to your left. Where does around 40% put us? At the bottom of where we were when the COVID crash happened. So if we had, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if we had a COVID crash style, if we had a 2008 banking collapse style correction, maybe we would get to these COVID levels. My idea, it's best, and yes, I'm going to get to the Magnificent Seven stock soon. Sorry, I know it's been 7 minutes into this. My idea is, as we get down, once we get down over 10%, 15, 20, dollar cost average it on your way down, because we don't know if we're going to stop at 25%, maybe do sort of an M shape here and then go up. But I wanted to show you how we are about to be uninverted here when we go to the US 30-year minus US 2-year. That one is uninverted, so, or it was before. Yeah, you can see we were inverted and then we became uninverted again. Shocked face right there. All right, Magnificent Seven stocks. Let's get into it. Let's start off with Tesla because they had earnings last week, Wednesday. We talked about this. We have a fib within the last year. And as you can see, we're in the weekly here. Most recently with this indicator, and that's just one of them, we have been selling off. We've gone down to this fib, at least from the last year. And I did move the fib over because we are about getting out of that range. In the last year, we have come down to the 786, 183. If you like Tesla, if you use Tesla, it's not a bad spot to get in for the long term. I am not a Tesla buyer, and here's why. I've talked about this before. Its market cap, right now it's 600 billion. Ford Motors is around 40 billion. And so when you think about that, that's 15 times higher in market cap. Ford has twice the revenue. Now, I haven't looked at their expenditures compared. I know Tesla has a pretty good balance sheet where they have a lot of extra cash on hand. But when Ford is worth 15 times less, again, not saying it's a stock to worth investing into, because overall you look at Ford, you can check it yourself. I'm not going to check it here. The stock looks like crap as far as what it does. For a long term, it hasn't yielded great gains. But Ford is worth 15 times less and has twice the revenue. So we're trying to be forward thinking as investors in the Tesla. If you are, I'm not an investor in the Tesla. It's not a company or product I use. Is it something I like? Kind of. I've thought about getting a Tesla car. I've heard great things about them. But again, I have no insider information on that. So if you do like Tesla and you look up its balance sheet, right now we are very oversold and we are at this fib. I don't think this is the worst time to dollar cost average in. If Tesla was worth 15 times less, more around 40, let's just say 10 times less, and then it would have a 60 billion market cap. And that would mean that its current price of 188, 10 times less, you guys know what that means, right? It would be around 20. I don't think Tesla is going down to 20. All right. I think at the absolute worst, if you were to zoom out, that maybe it would get down to, you saw this peak here. This was 2022. That at worst, it would get down to 50 if we had another great financial crisis. Again, and look, it's at the 1618. So 50, 60. I'm just looking for structure there. That's worst case scenario. I don't see it getting there. Even if Tesla got close to 100 again, I might be considering buying because that's too good to pass up. Anyways, we've had recently a sell signal. I showed you that, guys, that on the weekly. How much has it dropped down with that sell signal? It's gone down around 30%, 25 to 30%. So, guys, that's huge. If this was the case with Amazon, a stock I like and use, I would be buying if Amazon was down 25%. So take your own risks, not financial advice. Let's move on to the next one. Microsoft. Where is Microsoft? Microsoft, if we take a look at the weekly, most recently we've had a buy signal, and that buy, what is going on here? Sorry, I don't know what happened there. I accidentally clicked something on the side. Apologize about that. There's a clown show going on here. Microsoft. I think I've been scrolling too fast. I had too much coffee to drink today. Maybe that's what's going on. All right. From that last buy signal, we've moved up 12%. Good move. We are still in the overbought area as far as if we draw a fib. Gosh, we just keep crawling up here. I want to draw a fib more from this accumulation range here because we spend a lot of time accumulating. I'm going to look at the low right here. Low to high. Anything we can expect. On the daily, you can see we have a sell signal. So maybe we would come back down to the 3 to the 0.5. So in there, if you're looking to dollar cost average in the Microsoft, again, I'd be waiting for the RSI on the daily at the very least to get under 50. I mean, look at how patient you have to be for the weekly. Sometimes you can wait a while. This is January of 19. Next time we're below on the 50, it was a year and 3 months. And then from March of 2020, you had to wait almost 2 years to be below the 50 on the RSI. So right now, if we had to wait a year to 2 years, January 23, you're talking about, mid-time 24 to start of 25. I know it's a long time to wait. I like to say time in the market is more important than time in the market. Right now, I love Microsoft. I think it's one of the best stocks out there. But right now, I would not be buying Microsoft. I would be patient or look for some lower levels of dollar cost average in. Before we get to Google, actually, let's just take a look. Since earnings have come out, look, we spiked up and gone back down. So it is looking somewhat bearish. We've gone back down to this range right here. We've gone above it, below it. Again, I think zooming out, if you're willing to be patient, maybe look for something around the 360 level, and that wouldn't be the worst. Google. What's going on with Google? Let's take a look at the last 5 days. Where are we at? Whoa, it had a big sell-off here. We've just been hanging around at that fib. If we go to the last year, look at that. We've gone down from the high to the 236 and really haven't gone underneath it. I would like for it to get underneath it. It looks like there's a lot of strong structure here at the 382, the 134, and that possibly it could come down to the 0.5618. It would still be bullish technically to me. And this is on the daily. Let's go to the weekly. Weekly, most recently, we haven't had a sell signal yet. However, we have had this right here. It's called a long-legged doji. Those, even without a signal, can go drastically either way, whether they're green or red. Again, when's the last time this one's below 50? You could say right here in the back end of 22, but before that, last time was April of 2020. So we had to wait a couple years. And even if we waited a couple more years, maybe, 2 years on average. We almost got underneath it here last October, but maybe we're going to have to wait till midway through this year to see us getting down there again. And, we'll see where we are. Before we get to AMD, let's look at the other ones. We had earnings for Meta, Apple, and Amazon today. Let's take a look at Meta. Meta's looking great. Is that all-time highs? Let's zoom out a bit. Yes, that's all-time highs. So at least on the weekly, most recently we've had a buy signal, and we have gone up to the tune of 27%. So that's pretty good. As you can see on the weekly, we are still overbought. Over here, I got in on some Meta. It was a great time. So I'm liking my Meta holdings right now. Let's draw a fib. I mean, guys, this looks absolutely insane. Like, even if I draw a fib, I mean, this is craziness. Are we going to see any structure from all the way back here? Possibly. Let's see. So let's get rid of that. So you can see we've had a decent amount of structure between the 236 and the 382 bouncing around in there. I would not be surprised for us to get there. And then again, we have way more structure all the way back here at the 0.5 down to 247, 250. If we got below that, just by looking at the levels of structure here, a lot there, a lot here. I think if we got below that, I mean, how much is holding us up above the 618? You have to go all the way back here, a little bit here. But yeah, this, for as bullish as it looks, as much as it's gone up, I would not be surprised to see it keep chopping around, maybe making higher lows right here. This line, this trend line, does concern me. If we did have a big crash, again, I'm not saying it is going to happen, but if I want to zoom out here further, if we had a big crash, I do wonder if we would see a trend line hitting something down here. Again, not going to say it's going to happen, but sometimes in these big recessions, oh God, it's horrible. Or maybe somewhere down here. If I'm saying ultimate capitulation, crash, not saying that's going to happen, I would be buying in on Meta myself anywhere around the 200 range. I like when we're in the last year when we were near lows. So if we were back in the 200 range, by the time we might be back there, might be at the next yearly lows. Let's take a look at Apple. If we take a look at the last 5 days, and Apple earnings were today, you can see, let's take a look at the last day, crawling up into earnings there. Okay, last month, kind of chopping around a little bit, testing this fib. When we zoom out, we're retesting this 236 fib, looking to see if we can possibly go back up, test maybe new all-time highs. I have talked about how we have bearish divergence, even though we're higher in the price, we're lower in the RSI. That's bearish divergence. We did have a daily sell-off that's gone down a bit. If we go to the weekly, most recently we've had a sell signal on that doji, and those can be bearish. So with all the structure here, I would look at 171 is very strong support just with all this in here. So and again, after this big move up, we first had a sell signal. And yes, they can chop around. This does look overall like it does want to come back down to this 170 range, 618, 165. I would look for a strong bounce somewhere around there. So long term, if you bought Apple between 165 and 171, I don't think that'd be the worst idea. Let's go to Amazon. They also had earnings today. What happened with earnings? Overall, pretty good for Amazon. Last 5 days, chopped around, but it's been coming back up into earnings. So there we go. The last year, you can see we've just been climbing up. So Amazon doing very well in this last year. And as you can see here with the Fib, we have a lot of structure between the 0.5 and the 236. A lot of structure. It would be difficult to come down under the 236 from all this structure. But if we did, and we got down to the 125 to 133 range, I don't think that'd be the worst. As a long-term minded investor, you can see here, this is just from last June. If we are just range bound and in June we're somewhere around here, I don't think that would be the worst. I would even buy some Amazon. Great stock. zooming out way further. And by the way, you guys can see this lower in the RSI, higher in the price. That's bearish divergence last 5 years. What do we see? We did get down to the 80s. I'm still mad at myself for not getting more Amazon down here. I was waiting for it to get under 80 and like an idiot, even though we had all this structure back here to saying it was probably going to bounce off of 80. I got greedy. Didn't happen. I was ready to back up the truck and buy a bunch, and I just missed it. So don't be stupid like me. Dollar cost average in on the way down. But yeah, as far as the last 5 years, what do we see? The RSI, when it does get below 50, tends to not be the worst time. Again, don't go completely off RSI. It's just one tool in your toolbox. Most recently, though, we have had a buy signal, and we've gone up from 146 to 161. So pretty good move. Amazon, love Amazon, one of my favorite stocks. I would say, though, right now, I wouldn't be buying. I would wait till it's in this 125 range, something like that. What am I missing? NVDA. So NVIDIA, over the last couple of weeks, we've had earnings for 6 of the Magnificent 7 stock. We had Tesla, Microsoft, Google, Apple, Amazon. What am I forgetting? Meta. Yep. The only one we didn't have was NVIDIA. It's the only one we didn't have earnings on in NVIDIA. It is the semiconductor stock, and it's just ripping. I'm so happy I bought some NVIDIA down here with Meta. Turns out, man, it's been probably my best buy since then. NVIDIA, then Meta. And trying to be patient on NVIDIA is hard. I mean, look at this. It just keeps climbing. Last 5 years, we were just staying overbought. This thing is going parabolic. I do worry about a recession. I talked about with the yield curve uninverting, and when rate cuts, recessions tend to be on average 7 months out. When we do get a recession, whether it's within the next year or so, or whether it's in 3 years, this thing is going to come down hard. And I'm going to buy more. NVIDIA, the greatest semiconductor stock on the planet. Is it time to buy? Guys, here's what I'm going to tell you to be cautious, because there's a lot of greed. We're at a market cap of $1.5 trillion. Do I think this could be up there with Apple and Microsoft? Yeah, I think so. I could see it getting to 2 to 3 trillion, up there with the other ones. And if it does, yeah, you're talking about 1,200 for NVIDIA. Maybe there'd be stock splits or something by then. We'll see. But NVIDIA, it's just ripping up there. As far as a fib, I think the only fib that kind of makes sense is to go from way down here to up, or from this range up. So let's draw a couple fibs, see if we notice anything. I'm going to try to get that exact. I'm looking at this red line down here. So what do we notice? We had a lot of structure up here at the 382. And if we went under that, man, it is a long ways down. And if we had a big capitulation recession event and got through this, I could see, look at all the structure, the 220 to 310 level being a possibility in the worst case scenario. Okay. From the last year, let's use this accumulation range as a base. So where were we at the lowest? Over here on the right, but I'm going to draw it way to the left. And I know I did not draw that fib perfect. Shoot me. Right here, you can see we're just bouncing up between the bottom and the 618. Kept testing it, going above it. And then as soon as we looked up to the 0.5, man, we've just been ripping up. So NVIDIA, very strong stock. And most recently, our signal has been a buy signal. How much have we moved since the last weekly buy signal? We have moved 39% up. That's crazy. That's crazy. So NVIDIA just going gangbusters. I'm going to do 2 bonus stocks for you guys. We are going to go into AMD, but I keep hearing about super microcomputer. This one, I did not hear about it until somewhere in here, and by then it's too late. This one, my God. I mean, just take a look at the last year. If you would have bought super microcomputer a year ago, you would have made almost a 6x. This one's just going nuts. Does this not look a lot like NVIDIA? So this stock right here, going crazy. It's all the AI stuff on the 5 year. Look at that. That is just complete moonshot. Most recently, we got a weekly buy signal. Let's measure that. Super microcomputer. It's gone up 126%. That's crazy. This looks more like a crypto, what a crypto would do in the 4 year cycle than a stock. So just tons of money flowing in. If we did get a big capitulation event, obviously, look at all the structure here. If super microcomputer had a massive sell-off, start dollar cost averaging in here around the, let's say, the 230 to 320. I would say we could be more patient. The 230 to 300 range. If it got underneath that, then you would be going down here to the 190, 100 range. Guys, if we did get a 2000.com bubble style crash or 2008 great financial crisis bank collapse style crash and super microcomputer got down here, I would be buying a lot of it for the long term. Same with NVIDIA. If NVIDIA got down to those levels, these charts look very similar. So not financial advice. However, I do think these stocks, if they were to sell off the way Amazon did in the dot-com bubble, and I'll show you that. Let's go to Amazon. Amazon was big going into the dot-com bubble. Let's go on a journey together, and I will get to AMD, I promise. So look at this. If you would have bought Amazon down here, you would have made 1,354% gains. That's nuts. However, let's measure from the high. Amazon was a hot stock. I remember listening to the radio with my dad about stocks, and people were shitting on Amazon because it was down 95%. Like, Amazon's over. Man, if you could have bought Amazon for 30 cents, look at it right now. It's at 160. If you would have bought Amazon for 30 cents back there at the bottom, what would that be? So we're taking a look. 159. I'm doing the calculation. 0.28 divided by, I'm looking at the right there, that blue number, divided by 0.3044. That's a 523 gain. So that means $1,000 at the bottom would have been $523,000 today. $10,000 would have been $5 million. So if we do get another big recession and we get on any of these AI stocks or even crypto a 95% correction, guys, that might be the opportunity of a lifetime. And you're going to hear on the news, just like I remember hearing when I was a teenager, Amazon sucks, the company's over with. If you would have bought $1,000 worth of Amazon and all the fears in the market, man, you would be set. Who would not like, 24 years later, $523,000? I think that'd be worth the risk of $1,000, if not more. Should that happen with super microcomputer, AMD, NVIDIA, if we do get a recession and a big crash and those stocks go down 75% plus because it is the new wave of technology, not saying it will, but if it does, that might be the opportunity of a lifetime. Last one, AMD, because they had earnings. How was earnings with AMD? Overall, looks pretty good. It's been crawling up. What's AMD's market cap? 275 billion. Oop, I forgot to look at the market cap for super microcomputer. Sorry, we'll come back to AMD. 32 billion. So even though this one's going crazy, do your research on super microcomputer. Because, hey, what if this one turns into a $1 trillion company? Not saying it will, but if it turned into a $1 trillion company, that would be 31 times the price it is now, which means $1,000 now would turn into 31,000. Should it turn into a $1 trillion company? Not saying it has a fundamental for that. I have to do more research myself, but just something to consider is that 32 billion. These AI stocks, heck, maybe it can run up a bit further. AMD, 275 billion. So if you wanted AMD to be a $1 trillion company, that means if you invested $1,000, it'd be about $4,000. Let's take a look at the last year. Okay, similar to NVIDIA, this one does show a little bit more weakness. I'm curious. Let's draw a fib just from back here to the top. Is there anything? Yeah, I mean, it looks like it wants to come back to the 236 at 160. There's a little bit of structure here. Man, not much though. You have to go way back. I'd say if it broke under the 0.5 133, I could see AMD get back down to the 100 range. And if AMD did get back down to the 100 range, I would be buying some AMD back there. So, yeah, this one, 100 to 120, great stock. We're looking at it recently. It is very overbought. And so we'll see. Man, these ones that shoot up, they can crash down pretty hard too. You saw that Amazon chart. Can that happen with these if we get another dot-com bubble style correction? Yeah, we could see it come back down. Heck, if it got under 100, even lower to these 50, 60 range. That's max bearishness. Let's say we only had a 30% correction in the market, which would be bad and be a recession. You don't want to miss these $100 to $120 levels on something like AMD. On the weekly, what have we had most recently? Man, look at this. I talk about these long-legged dojis. They can go either way. And this one, it shot up. It had that weekly signal. It shot up. And we have pretty much doubled. We've gone up 94 to 185, 96%. So pretty much 2x to your profits. And yeah, that's pretty good. I want to see what the time frame was of that. So it's been 3 months. 3 months to double your money. That's amazing. And guys, think about this. If you have $1,000 and double it 10 times, you're a millionaire. And if you could double your money inside of 3 months and knew you could, you'd be a millionaire within a few years. So if you're confused by what I'm saying, that's like making $2,000 out of 1,000. And then again, if you double it the second time, 2 to 4,000. Double that again, 4 to 8, 8 to 16, 16 32 to 64 to 128 to 256 to 500 some $1,000, 512,000, and then over $1 million. So if you doubled $1,000 10 times, you would have over $1 million. So heck, if you could double $1,000 every 30 days, that would be pretty amazing. If I had $1,000 in here and I didn't, and I doubled it, I moved this big, me personally, a move that quick, that's too good, almost not to sell. But again, we don't know if this can just keep ripping and go up 3x, 4x. When moves do go this crazy this soon, sometimes it's not the worst idea to take profits. Not financial advice. So yeah, let's just take a quick peek over at crypto. Crypto doing anything? We had a buy signal recently after the sell signal, after the ETF wicked above to 49K, it wicked above the 382 level. It's gone down. Is it just going to keep going up? Maybe. On the trend line, if I put that on log, it's been following this trend line. And yeah, maybe we just keep following it up there. So anyways, that's all I got for today. Hope you enjoyed this video on the Magnificent 7 stock. Out of all of them, looking like a buy. Maybe Tesla, if you like it and believe in it. I'm still going to be patient on the other ones because we are still in extreme greed. Time in the market's more important than time in the market. None of this financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I do use my knowledge, experience, certification from the working in the field of psychology as an educator, consultant, helping people. I've used that for myself to look at markets as a contrarian, and when there's fear, when the VIX is high, when things are oversold, I use a lot of indicators. I also look at companies' balance sheet to see, do they have a large moat? Because if we do get a big recession, the companies with a large moat, that means way more cash than expenditures, they're going to be fine. But the ones that have way more expenditures and debt than cash, they might not be. So those good companies with, even Tesla, their balance sheet looks good. Even though I don't have a Tesla or use Tesla, I do admire their balance sheet. They have a lot of extra cash. They could survive a great financial crisis, in my opinion. We'll see. You never know what Elon would do. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this video and hope you all have a wonderful Friday. Take care.